Sewing machine does not determine the quality of your work. You do. Sewing machine is just a tool, and when it comes to clothes making, this is the tool that does the stitching. Same way as the scissors are a tool that do the cutting, the choke is a tool that does the drawing, and the pins do the connecting. You get where I'm going. And all sewing machines have the exact same principles of working. The top thread is going through all the hooks and the loops down all the way to the needle. And the bottom thread is placed in a tiny bobbin case and placed at the bottom of the machine. And the top and the bottom thread connect at a meeting point, and this is how they create a beautiful stitch. The end. Seriously though, all machines are the same at their core. Let me show you how to thread 4 different types of machines so that you can see it for yourself. And if you have a machine that you don't know how to use, then pause this video, go and get it, and in about half an hour to 40 minutes you'll have all your questions answered. And if you're new here, hi and welcome. My name is Lisa Bennett. I am co-founder of Studio Arkdefo, designer and educator. And my biggest passion and mission in life is helping women feeling great in their bodies through the clothes that fit just right. In our online courses, we focus mainly on the creative side of clothes making, garment design, pattern drafting, and construction. Sewing is just one step in the big, beautiful clothes making process, and it's my personal least favorite. And in this new series, I'll cover everything that you need to know about starting using your sewing machine and creating your first simple patterns and projects. In today's video, I'll cover how to thread 4 types of sewing machines, how to set up top and bottom thread tension, how to choose the right size of the needle and how to replace it, briefly cover a few types of different presser feet and how to change them, and also I'll show you how to oil a sewing machine. And all of this content is part of our big sewing course that we are gradually moving to YouTube for a wider reach. Sewing is a basic skill, same as cooking, and it should be available to anyone, so that's the reason for this series. So you have your sewing machine in front of you. Where do you begin? First of all, you want to switch it on. The switcher is usually on the right side. Voila, done. And of course, before switching your machine on, you need to connect it to power. There will be, usually it's one cable going to power and one cable for the pedal for your foot. Most people will be using this pedal with their foot, but in case of small machines like these domestic ones, I actually use it with my elbow. I find it more control because it's pretty small. Okay, so this is our power. The wheel over here is also moving. Back in the day when they were manual, they were using the wheel, and as you can see, as I'm moving this wheel, the needle is going up and down. So you see the machine, what is what. This bit here is for your top thread. This bit will allow you to thread the bottom bobbin. Okay, let's do this first. This machine has this type of bobbin insertion. It's pretty simple. You get it out. That's it. That's the thingy. And it fits perfectly here. Okay. I have 2 threads, black and white. One will be for the top, one will be for the bottom, so it's easier for you to see. Let's use the black one at the bottom. So what do? I'm taking my black thread and I will put it here. And this thing just fixates it in place, so when I'm moving it, the thread doesn't jump off. The thing on the back here is for threading the actual machine. You want to look for this kind of little circle thing. This one is used for threading the tiny bobbin. And very often machines have instructions right on the machines. See, so here is a thread, here is a tiny circle, and here is a bobbin. This little thing here kind of has 2 metal plates like this. So you kind of want to put it in between there. Right? Then you grab your little bobbin, and as you can see, there are little holes. So from underneath here, you want to put your thread like this. Okay. Place it over here and move it all the way to the right. And see what this machine does, it also blocks the needle, so the needle won't be working. I'll show you in a second. And you press your pedal, hold this thread for tension. Once there's enough thread over here and it's not loose anymore, you can chop this bit off and continue pressing the pedal. And see how this needle is not moving. Neither is this wheel. On the older machine, quite often the needle will still be moving, but in this case, the modern ones, they just block it, because once you move this thing all the way to the right, it recognizes it and it blocks all the mechanism over here, okay? Now, for how long should you be going? Kind of almost until it's full, till 80-90%. This thing over here is a stopper, so it will prevent the spool from overthreading. And now it's pretty much touching it, so that's enough. I cut the thread over here, and look what happens to machine. Once I move this stick to the left, it will unlock itself. See? Now the needle is active again. Next, you're gonna thread the top part of the machine, so this bit. Usually it's recommended to thread it with the presser foot up. You can find the lever on the back or on the side. So here's how it usually looks from the back. Okay. Most machines are designed in a way so you can easily reach it either on one side or the other. You don't have to see it, you just feel it. So we agreed to have different threads for the top, and I'll change it for the white one. Okay, nothing changes here. And then look, machine is guiding you. It's telling you what to do. So usually right next to this circle that is for threading the lower bobbin, there is a hook on the back. So you go straight there. Done. Then see number 1, arrow down, and you put the thread into this opening all the way down, and then see number 2, we're going back up. And now you see this thing here, another hook, and some machines want you to put thread like this manually, same way as you would thread the needle. Many modern machines just want you to do this motion and thread gets in. So this thing will be moving as you're moving, and obviously it needs to be on the surface for you to thread it. Yeah, the thread is going up from here, it went up, and now go on the back and see it's getting in. It needs to drop down to this hole, okay, and now we're going down again. Now down this second opening, and until we find the hook over here. Okay, so first one is usually a bit higher, then another one lower. This thing says go to the right. These modern machines have this automated threader, and to be honest with you, I struggle to use them. If your thread is a bit fluffy, like here, just chop a bit. See, it's much better. And now you put it through the needle. In this case, I would usually put down the presser foot, and here we are. So you're in. Okay, now you lift up again the presser foot. The thread needs to go in between the presser foot. So see, the presser foot has this middle kind of slit, and the thread is going this way through the slit all the way back. Done. It might seem like a lot, but it's not. It's all the same things on every single machine. Big thread over here goes through first hook over there, through the opening, down, up, through this metal hook, down, and a couple of hooks at the bottom, usually 2, then the needle and out. That's done. This wheel here is that tension wheel we were talking about. Let's pick something in the middle, say 4. So here is a marker, what tension is, and you keep it on 4 and you should be fine. And that's the top part of the machine is threaded. And the last part is threading the bottom bobbin. So as you can see, you can put it this way or this way, doesn't matter. Yes, it does. Domestic machines have a specific way in which way the bobbin should be rotating, counterclockwise or clockwise. And you can find what your machine wants in the instructions, but also here you can see that it wants me to have the thread going this way, okay? So that's what I do. If you do it wrongly, this could be the reason why your machine doesn't sew, because it is really crucial. If it's rotating the different direction, it might not work. This is an easy one. It doesn't have a separate capsule. I just drop it in. So I put it in. And then again, back to my instructions. So there's clearly like 2 hooks. So here it is. See, it's over here. And fixate it, and that's it. Now what you do, you rotate the side wheel and your top thread will pick up the bottom one. See, the loop is going up, around, and just one time. And I usually help myself with the side of the scissors just to get it out. And now both threads are out under the presser foot to the back. I close this bit here and I'm done. Here is another modern machine, Singer. I don't think they produce this model anymore. I actually bought it in Lidl ages ago and it's pretty decent. And the only difference here is the way you thread the lower bobbin. That's why I want to show it to you. But the basic principles is still the same. You have 2 threads, one at the top, one at the bottom, and once they connect at the presser foot with needle, you have your perfect stitch, right? So that's very simple and it's very similar to the other machine. I don't have this machine anymore, but I have a video that I made a few years ago and I can guide you again step by step how to thread it, and you will see how similar every single model is. Once again, we'll be starting with the top thread, and you want to lift up your presser foot with a lever on the other side of the machine, same place as the previous one here. So you go underneath and lift up the presser foot, because when you thread in the machine, you want your presser foot to be up. This has to do with the thread tension. Let's not overcomplicate it, just lift it up. And I go to the top of the machine to insert my thread. They can be the sticks that hold the thread, they can be horizontal or vertical. This machine has options for both. I'm just using the horizontal one here. Again, fix it with the special plate so it doesn't jump around as you operate in the machine. And the exact same thing, 1 hook on the very back of the machine, and then the thread goes through the first vertical opening. So through the hook and down through the opening. And then it goes underneath, up the second opening where you want to find, remember, that metal hook. If it's not visible, use the side wheel, rotate it until this thing appears and insert the thread inside. Make sure it's in, and then you pull in the thread all the way down the second opening again. You can correct your tension straight away here. Again, set it up on any medium what you have on your machine. As I say, usually it's about 4, 5, 6. I would say 4 or 5 are my go-to tensions in the beginning. If something doesn't work later, then I will correct them, but I always start with a medium number. And moving down to our bottom hooks, in this case, remember, you want to have your needle to be up, to be visible. If it's not, you want to lift it up with a wheel on the side. Step is threading the needle. As you can see, this machine only has 1 hook right next to the needle, which is fine. So once the thread is through, once again, it's going underneath the presser foot in the middle all the way to the back. And now you want to open this box. See, in the front, there's a little box. You push it all the way to the left and it comes off. It's actually also a storage for small tools. And then you open this little door and you see a metal case like this. You want to grab this little thing like that and it comes off. So it's kind of a little handle for it that helps it to get out. And this is the case for your bottom bobbin. And this little handle thingy on the back helps you to grab it, insert it, and get it in and out. It's again very important which way do you thread the bobbin. A very common mistake is that you insert the bobbin and you don't check which way it's rotating, clockwise or counterclockwise. Which way is the correct way? Please check with your machine's instructions. So once the bobbin is in, you just pull the thread and see which way it's turning, okay? Make sure you do it correctly. Once it's done the right way, you see these little openings and kind of hooks on this metal case, and this is where you want your thread to go. It's actually pretty intuitive. So you see the first one opening on the top, and then it goes through this kind of flat big hook hugging the case, right? And then again, you want to pull the thread a bit and make sure that it feels nice. It's not too loose, it's not too tight, it's moving okay. And then you open up this little handle and insert your case with the bobbin inside. Once you open up this handle, the bobbin is not moving, it's secure in place. Very important, when you put it in, you need to hear the click, because if you don't hear the click, that means that the case is not secure. If you hear the click, it's all good to go, and then you rotate the side wheel. Make sure that you pick up the bottom thread, get it out, put it on the back or under the presser foot, and you're done. That's it, you are threaded the machine. Now you can close this little door, insert back the box, and you're good to go. And the last part for this machine to show you how to thread the lower bobbin, exactly same principle. You see that little circle is right next to our first hook, and the same idea. You want to jam the thread in between that circle and this tiny metal plate, and then you go all the way to the right where you have your little tiny stick for the lower bobbin. And one more thing, it's obvious to me, might not be obvious for complete beginners. If you already have some other thread on the bobbin, but you really need to change the color and you don't have any spare bobbins, you absolutely can thread another thread on top of the thread which is already there. It's not a big deal. And then again, you put your bobbin on top of that tiny stick and move it all the way to the right. In the beginning, you want to hold your thread as you start pressing the pedal, so it has a bit of a tension, and then the machine does the work itself. I hope you already see all the similarities in these two different machines. Okay, so here is something different. This is old German machine, Veritas. It could be useful for those of you who have older machines or want to buy older machine on the eBay. A few things are slightly different, but essentially see same principles. One thing, it doesn't switch on, so the moment you plug it into the power, you press it, see it makes noises already, it's on. It's extremely heavy, it's like a tank, it's indestructible, and it's as old as I am, and it's still working perfectly fine. So let's have a closer look. If you watch the first two videos, you should be already familiar with all the threading of the machines, right? So here is my top stand for the top bobbin. So here is our circle for rethreading the lower bobbin. Here is the first hook for the top thread. Here is the second hook. Here is a tension wheel. Here is this little pokey thing, yeah, goes up and down, and hooks at the bottom. So everything here is the same. The only thing is it's a bit different to get out the lower bobbin. So you open the plate, and then again, I can feel this little thing opening up. I pick it, I got it. And if I wanted to rethread the lower bobbin, this thing will go over here. Same exact location. The top thread goes on top, over here, in between the circle and the plate, around this bit here, push it to the side. In this case, instead of like a little vertical stick, it's a bit different, but same principle, right? The only difference, this machine doesn't block itself, right? So it will continue, the needle will continue going when I'm rethreading the lower bobbin, but that's okay. Let me quickly show you how to thread it. First hook, second hook, then under the wheel, the tension wheel. See, in this case it's a bit different, but it's the same idea. Find the position for this bit to show up. Okay, and then hook, hook, and inside the needle, okay, and you're done. And this one in this case, if I remember correctly, needs to go counterclockwise. So inside this opening, behind this hook. Correct. Done. Okay, I don't know how much you can see. I'll try my best. So I've opened this bit. Done. Okay, and to get the thread from the bottom, I rotate the wheel. Here it comes. So both threads are out. Go to the back, close the plate, and it's done. Again, see here are the instructions, so it tells you exactly where to go. And the only difference is things are a bit more manual. So when you change the stitches and everything, it's a bit more, you know, a bit more clunky than modern machines. But other than that, all exactly the same. Here is a very traditional older machine, Singer. It has been motorized and it has a funny way of operating it. So instead of the pedal, it has this tool. I'll show you this later. This is custom made. This is from Andrew's family, and I don't think you can find something like this in the shops because it was made specifically for this machine. So I don't know, but you can definitely use just the wheel to sew kind of manually. So you rotate the wheel. It will take time, it will be a lot slower, but it's the same idea. It's the same sewing machine. And I want to be honest with you, I have never worked with it, but I'm very curious to see how to thread it. Never done this before, but just want to prove my point that all machines have similar ways of threading them. So let's see, this is the top stick. I assume thread goes over here, then this is the first hook, then in between there, I assume this is a tension wheel. I see another hook of sorts, this thing as always, a couple of hooks at the bottom and done. And for the lower bobbin, it just drops down like this. Oh, look, and it has a button, so it pops up. It's nice. I don't know which way this bobbin should go, but we'll figure it out. And the mechanism for rethreading is over here. I had a closer look at the system. I think I understand how it's rethreaded, but let's have a look together. This looks like this is where the little bobbin goes in. I'm not sure. Okay, so this is an analog, I think, of that little stick that we have on the modern machines. This will be the stopper for the bobbin. So if I put the little bobbin here, right, and then I take the thread and I guess just hug it around this way, hook here. So I think it goes this way. There is a hook, something should go through this. And this, to me, this opening also looks like a hook. So if I just do this, and then this, and then probably this, and then press it. How was it? No. Like this, so it's fixed. And now if I rotate the wheel, this is happening. Yeah, it works. It will take a bit of time, but it works. Excellent. Okay, I won't be doing this now. I get it out. So I'll put this little bobbin back in. No idea which side this should be. There are no indications, no instructions. So I'll just drop it this way and we'll see later how it works or not. And now let's thread the top. Look for hooks. Top hook. I actually don't know. I think this way, or maybe, no, I think this way. this way. Then this is the wheel. I assume this is the tension. And I have similar hook on my industrial machine, so I think it goes here in between the discs, and then like this under this hook. So kind of keeps it there. Then the logical thing is to do this. Okay. Then there is a hook over here. Right. There's also a hook here. I'm not sure what it's for. Maybe? Yes, this makes sense. Go through this hook, then this hook, then this hook, and now through the needle. And here it's very interesting, the needle is not going, so the needle doesn't have the hole this way, it has the hole this way to the side. And I have the exact same situation with the industrial machine, so I haven't touched this machine since we got it, so I assume you just put the thread here from the side. Here we go. See, it's from the side, and usually it's not this way in domestic machines, but given the fact that this is a very old model and it has some similarities to an industrial machine, I think threading this way probably is the correct way. Okay, now let's see how we're gonna thread this bit here. So if I put it in, there must be some sort of, here it looks like this little opening similar to Janome machine. Aha! That looks good, nice tension. And I rotate the wheel. So here is my top thread going over. I just pull it. And here is the bottom bobbin. I'm not sure which way it should be going, rotating, to be honest. But if it's anything like my industrial machine, then it shouldn't matter. I'll get a small piece of fabric just to test it to make sure it's threaded the correct way. The lever is over here. So either manually, yeah, or so I have this bit coming in. And now I lift it up and it's sewing. I'm not sure this is the right position. I think it somehow needs to be between my knees to operate it, but for the video, I'll do it this way. And we have a nice stitch. Not so nice stitch on the back though. That might need a bit more attention. We'll talk about this a bit later. I hope now you see that all the machines have very similar threading principles. Some hooks are in different places, some have slightly different systems, but in the end of the day, the principles is the same. You have the top thread, the bottom bobbin, and they need to connect to create a nice stitch. So let's move on. Thread tension is one of the biggest fears of many beginners. Let me break it down to you and make it very simple and straightforward. Tension is how tight your thread is threaded through the sewing machine. And if it's done wrong, it will impact the quality of your stitches. I'll show you how to set top and bottom tensions on all machines too. See here I have numbers from 0 all the way to 9, where 0 will be low tension and 9 will be the hardest tension. What it does, so here, see this thread here, if I pull it, this is now on the 9, it's really hard to get it out. So the thread is like kept hostage by this disc. We don't want this. If we go to say 0 and I try to pull it, it's sliding like nothing is holding it. And it's also not right because I want some tension. I want it to be held in place, you know, fixed, because this is not good. So I go somewhere, say, to 4, 5, right? It's kind of going through, but there is some resistance. That's what you want. Kind of 7 feels a bit better, but I still think it'll be too much just because I know the machine. So I will go like kind of 6, 5 in the middle, okay? Let's see what happens if I stitch it. When you're checking your tension, you always check the top stitch and also the one on the back. How does it look? And you pull this thread as well to see if it's moving or not. If it's moving, it's really bad. Okay, so I think we're fine, but I can feel like it's a little bit too tight, you know, so we can release the tension a bit more, say between 5 and 4. When I'm touching this seam, I feel like the thread is way too tight. It shouldn't be that tight. So let's try again. That's much better. I don't know, it's probably impossible to see it, but this one is really keeping the fabric together too much, and this one is kind of nice. So you go on the back and you try to pull this thread and see what's happening. It's pulling. You know why? Because I have a problem with the bottom tension. So my top tension is fine, but my bottom tension creates this little loops. This is a very common problem. Okay, and if I pull the thread, it's gathering. It should not be happening. It should never happen like this. That's a bad stage, and we need to correct the bottom tension. So in the machines where the bobbin goes into the case, the key to tension is the case itself. When you go and put the thread in, right, and you pull it, now I can even feel it, like it's way too easy. See, there is no resistance. It's pulling way too easily. It shouldn't be like this. I should feel some resistance. So what do? Very simple fix. So you either get a small screwdriver or just the usual pen. See the small circle here? This is our tension wheel for the bottom. And you move it. See, it's moving. And just keep checking. How does it feel? That's a little bit better. I want to close it a bit more. So this little screw, this little circle, it brings this bit closer, so which creates a better tension. See, moving. That's a bit better. It's smooth, but still a bit loose. I want it to be a little bit tighter. So I keep closing it. So clockwise, that's much better. See, it's nice and smooth, but it has some resistance. So that's really, really good. That's what we want. And let's compare with the original one. You see the difference? Same way I'm pulling, but there is resistance. You want it. First of all, I have to say it feels much nicer. Just the way it's gliding through the fabric just feels better. Let's see if it's the right feeling. It feels better than the first two. What's on the back? Still a little bit loose. Not sure. Let's first try and change the top tension. See if it does anything. Yes, now it's a lot better, see? This one still has loops, this one doesn't, and if I pull it, now that's a good stitch. Fourth attempt, and I have my perfect stitch. It's a dance, okay? It's a dance between those two tensions, and you need to find the perfect one. You always test on the piece of fabric beforehand, exact same fabric you'll be using for whatever you're making. If you have loops, if your thread is easily pulling, that's not right. You need to have perfect stitch from both sides, okay? If you have your tension, your top tension too low, that's what's gonna happen. My top tension was on 0 pretty much, and this is really, really bad. The thread is just coming out. So if you have this massive loops, one of your tensions, either top or bottom, is wrong. So, and you really want to correct it. But before going all the way down to the bottom, first, just check with your top tension. Please don't be afraid to move the wheel, to rotate it, test it, try it. And if you did everything possible with the top tension and you're still getting bad stitches, there's a chance something is wrong with the bottom. Get it out and adjust. You'll get there, but you have to test it. Let's look at Janome. So here is my average tension. Also make sure that the stitch is not too small. Let's say it like 3.5. And let's test it. So top looks great. So does bottom. Pull test, nothing. Fantastic, perfect, extremely lucky. What if I had my tension at, say, 0? Top looks alright, and bottom looks really bad. See? These loops appear again, and you can even feel them with your finger because they're a lot more kind of sticking out. And if I pull it, there is no stitch, there is no seam. So that's what happens when you have tension too low. If you have tension too high, see what it does to the fabric. It kind of really tenses it, and you don't want it. We go back to the medium one and we stay here. If it works, it works. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. If you're lucky enough and you have perfect tension straight away, fantastic. But what to do if you have a machine like this, with a bobbin like that, and you have issues with the bottom tension? Let's have a look. So there is no case. How do you fix it here? It's also fixable. So even though it doesn't have a case, right? This black bit where you insert your bobbin, it is the case. It's just a bit of different shape of it, okay? Most machines come with whatever, some sort of screws, and don't be afraid to remove them. And I just want to remove this plate. Okay, just be careful that you keep the screws so you don't lose them. Lift up the plate. This is also what you do when you want to clean up your machine from fluffs. If you're not sure of the positioning, take a picture, okay? But see, here is this red dot, and it's right next to this, in the corner of this plate, so I know it. And here is my lower tension for machines like that. So this machine doesn't have a screwdriver, but I have one. It's quite handy. If you can get one, get it. And you can also change the lower tension if it's really bad with this. It's less common to have tension problems with this insertion, okay? I'm not gonna touch it right now because I have a perfect tension and I don't wanna mess it up. But if you think that you have a problem with the lower tension, that's where you find it. To test it, you insert your bobbin into this hooks here, yeah, move it and go, okay, I actually quite like it, good. And then you just put it back where it was. See, my red dot was here, excellent. I get the plate. Okay, plate back and you're done, that's it. So it's really simple, don't overcomplicate it. Thread back in and we're done. Close it up. Tension sorted. And now let's figure out the tension of the vintage Singer. As I mentioned before, never used this machine before, so it will be a new thing for all of us. So the top here looks good, but let's check what's at the bottom. And the bottom looks really, really bad. See, if I pull this thread, it comes out. So does this, and we don't have a stitch. So let's see what's the problem. Maybe it needs to be other way around. And it doesn't look good as well. So same story here. These loops are not a sign of a good stitch. There is no stitch here. It's really bad. Let's see if I rotate this one all the way to the left. Doesn't feel right. Oh, that was bad. That's really, really bad. So I assume that all the way to the left is the lowest tension. Let's move it all the way to the right. Already feels better on the back. Let's see. Look at this. See, now it's too kind of tight because the tension is too tight. So I go and open up a little bit. Back to the left. Let's try again. See how this time goes. See the loops here again happening. I don't think it's a lower tension because we already had a successful stitch when it was a bit of way too tight to the right. So maybe I open it up too much. Let's correct it. A bit more to the right again and see how this goes. That's much better, look. The thread sits inside nicely, both bottom and top, nothing is pulling, and I found my perfect tension. Okay, so it's all about trying, experimenting, and figuring your machine out. Please don't be afraid of your machine. Finding out the perfect tension might take a few attempts, but you'll get there. No matter your machine, there is a magic formula that you need to find yourself. I cannot tell you exactly how it should work on your machine with your current settings. It's your job to figure it out. Bottom line, you need to practice. With the time and experience, you'll know how to adjust tension for different fabrics, different needles, different threads, and different purposes. And what's the deal with the machine needles? Are they different than usual sewing needles? Yes, they are. Most domestic machines will have standard needles, so you don't need to worry for a specific brand. And you can have different needles for different fabrics, for example, woven and stretchy. The needle for the woven fabric will be sharp at the end, so when the needle hits the fabric, it will be breaking through the threads. Whereas for the stretchy jersey fabrics, you'll be usually using the ballpoint needle. It's not sharp, but has kind of a ball at the bottom, and instead of breaking the threads, it carefully separates it. A wrong needle for a wrong type of fabric might be the reason why something is off with your stitches, or the stitches are breaking, or the fabric has weird holes in it. How do you change the needle? See the screw over here. It's holding the needle in position. To unscrew it, you need a screwdriver that comes with your sewing machine or any other screwdriver you have at home. Make sure you support your needle with your fingers so it doesn't fall down. And it's coming out. See, here is your needle, how it is inserted. The needle has a curvy side and the flat side. Usually domestic machines want you to put the flat side away from you. If you need to change your needle for different fabrics, or if you just need to change the needle, if it breaks, it happens, it's also completely okay, don't worry. You make sure that the flat bit is on the back and goes all the way up. And here you can even see in this little window that the needle is showing. So it needs to go all the way up to the maximum. So not here, but all the way up until it can't go further anymore. And then you first screw a little bit just with your fingers, and then you fix it very well with a screwdriver so that it's definitely held in place, and that's it. And the last thing, of course, is to thread it. And a few more things about needle sizes. These needles are not for domestic machines, but for the industrial, but it doesn't matter, it's the same basic principle. So this one is 125. What does this number mean? It means that it's very thick for very heavy duty fabrics like canvases or maybe heavy denim. And this one is 70. And 70 you would usually use for sewing something really thin. And look how different they are even visually. One is really thin and the other one is much thicker. Here is a cut of extra lightweight chiffon, and for such extra lightweight material I definitely need to use a super thin needle. See, it goes easily in and out and it doesn't leave any marks. That's exactly what we want. This needle is thin enough to saw through this very delicate fabrics. But if I took this super heavy duty needle and started sewing my extra lightweight fabric with it, it would start leaving visible marks. This needle ruins the fabric, and most likely it will also ruin your stitches. So that's why it's very important to choose the correct needle size for your fabric. And if you're not sure, just take a piece of fabric and test it. But in general, if you see something light and floaty, go for lightweight needles like 70 or even 65. And if you see something heavier, even like denim, then go for something heavier like 100, 110 or even 125. And the rule of thumb for domestic machines is to change your sewing needle after every 8 hours of sewing. And no, you don't have to keep a journal and a timer next to your machine, but just keep it in mind. If your stitches start looking funny, if the thread keeps breaking, if just something doesn't work during your sewing process, one of the reasons could be that your needle is simply blunt and you need to replace it. Presser feet. Different machines come with different presser feet for all sorts of purposes. The ones I use the most are these three. The basic presser foot for plain sewing, the one for the zip, and this lifesaver for automatic buttonholes. I won't focus specifically on each one of them right now, but I'll show you how to change the presser foot. So first of all, make sure that it's lifted up, right? And then you can press on the back here and it comes off. Usually you have this little kind of handle and your machine holds it like this, like a hook. Over here is your hook and your presser foot goes right under this. In this case, I just press this black button. So, and then let it go and the presser foot is in. And the last chapter of this video is about oiling your sewing machine. Always check with your instructions if and how your machine needs oiling. And if it does, make a habit of it. This will maintain your sewing machine health, provide you a nice and smooth workflow, and reduce the chances of your machine acting funny. I will be repeating this many times. If you're not sure how to oil your specific sewing machine, you need to check with your instructions or check a YouTube video specifically for your model. In general, first thing you want to do, you want to brush off all the dust that gathers at the bottom of your machine. This is usually for machines with this way of inserting the case with your lower bobbin. Usually they get more dust below. As you're working with your fabrics, all the dusty bits just fall down and gather there, and you want to clean it up regularly. Sometimes these fluffs also can be the reason why your machine is acting funny and is not sewing properly. So just clean, dry brush and wipe all of this dusty fluffs away. And now to the oiling part. Here I have this tiny bottle of machine oil specifically made for sewing machines, and now I just want to get inside that mechanism. In this case, this is a modern Singer. I need to get this frame first, and then I can go inside and clean up the insides of the thing. So all the bits are coming off. Some machines, they won't have this. In some machines, you will only be able to get out the case. Brush first with a dry brush to find any fluffs. And then you put just one small drop of oil, only one tiny drop, that's enough. And you brush the same bits with the same brush, just with oil. This will do magic to your sewing machine. And then you rotate the wheel a little bit to make sure that the oil spreads evenly. And then all the little bits and pieces here, as they go in, they will be sliding much better. And you can also add a little bit of oil on top. Again, this is very specific for this specific machine. Whatever bottom bits your machine has, and if your machine requires oiling, you will find all this information in the care instructions, but please don't be afraid to take these bits out. If it says take them out, take them out. And if you're not sure how to put them back, take a picture so you remember exactly how they were inserted. And once again, YouTube will very likely have all the information about your specific model. You need to learn how to research information about your specific machines. I won't have the answers for every single model because I simply don't have experience with working with your specific machine, okay? Generally, you will need to oil moving parts, and the only moving parts in your sewing machine are at the bottom, because this case is rotating to allow your stitch to happen. And that's it with the absolute basics. I know that it can be quite a lot to take it all in at once, but this is why this video is broken into chapters and there are time codes in the description below. So if you need to come back to a specific part of it, it's easily done. And you can also download a free machine troubleshoot checklist below this video. It covers all the steps to consider if your machine starts acting weird. And once again, guys, sewing machine is just a tool. And the more you use it, the more familiar you'll become with it. And please don't be afraid to use it. The only certain way to break an entire sewing machine is to throw it off the cliff. If something is wrong, first of all, go through the checklist. Very often you'll find that the problem is sorted on the way. I really hope this was helpful. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel, and see you next week.